Hello, welcome to Levant TV Headlines. Amnesty International says wealthy nations have only taken in a pitiful number of the millions of refugees uprooted by Syria's conflict, placing the burden on the country's ill-equipped neighbors. France says its fighter jets were conducting a major raid in Iraq as part of the US-led coalition offensive against the Islamic State group, days after members said the strikes were having effect. 5 separate bomb attacks in the Iraqi capital Baghdad and the northern city of Kirkuk have killed 38 people and wounded a dozen others. Tunisia's parliament has elected veteran politician Mohamed Nasser of the majority Nida Tunis party as House Speaker. A Bahrain court has sentenced opposition figure Zainab al-Khawaja to 3 years in prison for insulting the king by tearing up a photograph of him. And now let's take a look at the top headlines in today's newspapers in the Middle East. Starting with Egypt Independent, which leads reporting that Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry has expressed concern over the worrying situation in Libya, urging more support for the neighboring country to restore security and stability. The paper also reports that internet freedom suffered this year as a growing number of countries stepped up efforts to spy on users and censor online postings. From Lebanon, the Daily Star leads reporting that an ISIS commander threatened to kidnap Lebanese women and children and end negotiations over the captive servicemen unless his wife and children detained by authorities last week are released soon. The paper also reports that Lebanon's military tribunal postponed for the 4th time Friday the trial of former pro-Syrian minister Michel Samaha and his suspected accomplice, Syria's National Security Chief General Ali Mamlouk, over charges of plotting assassinations and bombings in Lebanon. From the UAE, the Khalij Times leads reporting that Lieutenant General Sheikh Saif bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Minister of Interior, has issued a stern warning to anyone who tries to disrupt the security and stability of the UAE, as he announced the arrest of the niqab-clad suspects who brutally murdered an American woman teacher in a washroom of a mall in the Abu Dhabi. The paper also reports that security forces in the capital of Russia's North Caucasus Republic of Chechnya stormed 2 buildings, including a school, in fierce gun battles with militants that left at least 19 dead. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East headlines from papers here in the UK. The Telegraph reports that the father whose wife urged him to go and die on the battlefield has been jailed for 4 years after becoming the first person in Britain to be convicted of terrorist offences in connection with the conflict in Syria. 31-year-old Mashudur Choudhury went to Syria with the intention of joining a terrorist training camp and suggested that the group of 4 younger men he was travelling with should be called the Brittani Brigade, Bangladeshi Bad Boys. The Independent leads Middle East News reporting that an Al-Qaeda commander has branded US forces as fools for a failed attempt to rescue a hostage British-born photojournalist in Yemen. Nasser bin Ali Al-Ansi condemned the attempt to rescue Luke Summers, calling it a foolish action and warned against any more stupidities. The Guardian reports that the US has reached an agreement with Iraq on privileges and immunities for the growing number of troops based in the country, helping in the fight against the Islamic State militant group. New US Ambassador Stuart Jones said Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi has given assurances that US troops will receive immunity from prosecution. Now let's have a look at top Middle East headlines in international papers. From Berlin, the Deutsche Welle leads Middle East News reporting that Lebanon's Interior Minister Nohad al-Mashnou said tests had shown that Lebanese authorities were holding a daughter to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader of the self-proclaimed Islamic State ISIS terror group. And finally, the Los Angeles Times reports that authorities in the UAE have arrested an Emirati woman in the stabbing death of an American teacher in a mall restroom and for plotting to bomb the home of an American doctor in Abu Dhabi. The suspect, who wasn't identified, was described as a woman in her late 30s who targeted her victims solely on the basis of their nationality. And for more updates, please visit us on Levant.tv. Thanks for watching and bye for now.